Alrighty, so this week I have a lot of the UI in place. I've got the weapons all loaded in and working, but not quite finished. I'm going to have to change around some things. I'm working on the armor system right now, and the UI I've got going. This is kind of the general look of how it's going to be for the menu, and then going into each of these buttons is like a separate screen. For the inventory and crafting, there are going to be multiple options, so each of these goes into a separate screen. For inventory, there's just 4 designations: armor, or weapon, armor, spell, and consumable screens, so you don't have to have everything all jam-packed in one. And then the crafting is going to have like a actual crafting screen and then a deconstruction screen, so you can break down extra weapons for parts and materials. And then the map is just placeholders, obviously, talents and stats. I haven't worked on any of these 3 yet. Still working on the inventory screens. I do have the weapon inventory working. I'm going to have to change some stuff around, but this is the gist of how it's going to look. This is all placeholder text, but so every weapon's going to have its required stats, stat scaling, damage, swing, and recovery, and then item description displayed over here. When you get weapons, they will appear here and kind of just line up. The weapons, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to have it laid out. I might do what I'm doing pretty similar to the armor, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Anyway, the way it works, these are all different items that I've placed here for testing purposes. So picking up all of these will give me a bunch of different weapons, so that when I go into the inventory screen, it shows all of the weapons that I've picked up. Obviously this stuff needs to be changed, this is just for testing purposes. But then whenever you select one of the weapons, it shows you the stats, the item description over on the side, and updates whenever you click it. Equipping the item will equip it and make it the weapon that you're using. As of right now, there isn't really anything obvious that does. It does work, and the melees do work, and they are based off of the stats that each weapon has, so based off of these damage, recovery, and swing values. I don't have anything in right now to test the melees on, so I haven't done that yet. I wanted to try and get all of the menu systems in, not all of them, just the weapons and armor, so that I can test drops and like have the general flow of things working properly. I do have it so that all of the inventory stuff is working properly. You can be in any of the screens, close, and it goes back to the normal thing. I'll talk about that in a second. And yeah, it just keeps everything that you've been on. So the armor is going to work differently than the weapons, probably. This is just the start of how I'm doing it. I had a system kind of working with a view group, but it ended up using a lot of resources trying to, because I have all these buttons in each one of these things is like a prefab, and then having these buttons, they're all in a layout group or a grid group. So trying to scroll with them and have the grid groups keep everything in place with the constraints around the whole thing and the mask, it just was freaking out and causing a huge amount of lag. It looked like there were some workarounds with that, but they were just not quite working for me. So I decided to just use a slightly different system, so I'm in the process of making that. I'll have that done by mid next week, I'm sure. But essentially it's just going to work so that while you're over the armor area, scrolling lets you go up and down and scroll through sets. And it'll just show the sets that you have. I'm not entirely sure if I want to change some things around, because there are 40 sets total, so once you have all of the armor, it's going to be kind of a pain to scroll through everything. I'm hoping just having the scroll bar will make it a little bit easier, so it's not a hassle to get to some of the like middle ones or the lower ones. But the way this is going to work is each set has 7 pieces, so you can click any of these buttons and it'll show information over here similar to the weapon screen with all the stats and item description, and then an equip button. So equipping it over here will make the button here in the set area highlight so that you can tell that you're wearing that item. Again, I'm not entirely sure if I want to switch things around. I'll probably just have it so that any items in a set will be priority in the list. So stuff you have equipped will be up towards the top of the scroll bar. And then after that, it'll just prioritize alphabetically and then only go through the sets that you actually have items of. But at the very least, that's just going to be how it is for now. And then, yeah, that's what I've got going right now. But I'm really happy I've got this in. It looks pretty nice. I'll be happy with how this looks, I think, once I have some of the art in for the UI. But that's not going to be for quite a while, unfortunately. But yeah, I think the armor system will look pretty cool when it's all working too. It's mostly just getting the logic down for the scrolling, which is going to be a little bit of a hassle, but I think it'll work well enough. But yeah, so next week I will start or finish, I guess, working on the armor screen here. And then after that, I am actually going to pivot and make some enemies, at least one, and have start putting in some spawn areas in like a small group of sections in the world, just for testing purposes, and give them a bunch of drops, and then just make sure the drops are working, all of the weapons work, and just kind of work out some general behavior stuff for AI scripting. And yeah, so have a little bit of a game next week, hopefully. All right.